Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Today we're going to make an excellent New York style Italian pasta dish. It's pappardelle with sweet sausage and a hot tomato sauce or hot tomato ragu. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to use sweet sausage. We'll use some fennel. We'll use some basil. We'll put a little bit of oregano in there, some California organic whole tomatoes. We're going to hand crush those. We're using California 100% organic olive oil as well. A little bit of Pecorino-Romano, the DOP from Sardinia these days. But before we get into the kitchen and I teach you how to do that, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button so that you know when I release our next video. Share with your friends. Remember, sharing is caring, and leave a comment down below. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the kitchen and make this delicious pasta. All right, let's get started. We need sausages first and foremost. We're going to take the casings off. We're going to break them into small pieces, and that's how we're going to do it. So the sausages will be broken up. We also are going to use some California tomatoes, which are organic. We'll finish it with Pecorino-Romano because this is a southern Italian-inspired dish. We're going to add some fennel seeds. We're going to add some red chili flakes in there to make the sausages that are sweet a little bit warm as well. We use some basil and some oregano. We'll use an onion. We're going to use some white wine. And, of course, California, 100% California extra virgin olive oil. So let's get started by first taking the casings off of the sausages. We're going to hand crush these tomatoes. We're going to chop up the onion, and then we'll go to the stove. All right, so here we are with the sausages. It's very simple to do this. You just take a knife and cut down the center, and the casings just peel off this way. All right, and they're clean, so there's really no need to squeeze them out. It becomes a complete mess. I'll do one more for you. Very easy and very simple to do. Done deal. All right, I'll do the rest and we'll come back. All right, that's what everything should look like. Our sausages just crumbled like this. Our tomatoes hand crushed, and about a half of a large onion, and it's reasonably large chop. I wouldn't call that a dice. I'd call that more of a chop. So it doesn't have to be very, very fine, but not too big, about medium size. It's time to go to the stove. Okay, here we are. We turn the heat on, and we'll add in a little bit of olive oil. And of course, we're going to cook our onions first. All right, we have some olive oil in the pan, and now we'll put in our onions. We don't want to brown them. We want to soften them to the point of them becoming slightly brown. And then we're going to add in our sausages. I'll be back when this is a little bit further along. All right, our onions are translucent. They've been cooking for just a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. Now we're going to add in our sausage, and we're going to cook that until it is slightly browned. All right, we want to get all of it in here. Waste not, want not. I'll be back as we continue here with browning the sausage. Okay, you can see how we're coming along now. And it's not brown yet, but it is cooking. And we're going to continue on. And this is at a medium heat. It's not too high. We're going to continue on until it browns slightly. Be back when that happens. In the meantime, also, I want to add in our fennel seeds and, of course, some of our hot pepper flakes. Just going to add a few in here. We don't want to make it too hot. We want it to just give it a little bit of a zing. And we'll continue on. Just break up the sausage meat with the spoon and wait for it to brown. Move it around so that it browns evenly, and we'll be back. You might also notice something. I've kept the meat in the center of the pan and the onions on the periphery, because this is where the heat element is. I don't want to, burn the onions by the time the sausage browns a little bit. So we keep them on the side that way in order to separate them, and so they cook almost at the same rate, essentially, because the onions are going to brown a little bit faster than the meat here, because they've been in for a lot longer period of time as well. We'll be back. All right, as you can see, our sausage is slightly brown. Everything's looking good. And now we'll add our white wine. And we're going to let that reduce slightly, just a little bit, to cook the alcohol out of it and to concentrate the flavors just a little bit. We'll be back. All right, as you can see, our wine is reduced down just a little bit. And you also want to scrape up any bits that are on the bottom, because what I'm going to do now is transfer this into a sauce pot before we add our tomatoes. So I'm going to do that, make sure that everything's totally clean and we get all the flavor out of here. All right, we're now in the sauce pot, and we're going to add our tomato product. Be very gentle, because you don't want tomato everywhere. And I'm going to get a spatula and clean this out in a second. All right, now let's clean this out. Get everything in there. Tomatoes are not exactly the least expensive item. We want all that we can get of these gorgeous California organic tomatoes. How sweet it is. And now we're going to bring this up to a simmer. We're going to cover it, and we're going to let it reduce down. In the meantime, we'll add a pinch of oregano, maybe a little bit more, and bring that to temperature. All right, our sauce has come to a boil. We're going to turn it down now, and we're going to let it simmer. In the meantime, I've also gone ahead and added our basil, as you can see in there, about 10 leaves. We don't want too much. So we're going to turn this down, we're going to cover it, and we're going to let it simmer to thicken just a little bit. The additional cooking time will help take the acid off of the tomatoes a little bit, the acidic taste. And since we're covering it, it's not going to lose a lot of moisture. It's going to reduce down, the flavors are going to meld, it's going to be good. While this happens, we're going to boil our water for the pasta. So in about 20 minutes, our pasta will be ready with our sauce. In fact, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. All right, I'll see you kind of at the end of this whole process. All right, if you're unfamiliar with the way I do things, this is our sauce pot. 4 cups of water go in, and when this comes to a boil, we'll add exactly 2 teaspoons of regular table salt, which is, to me, the perfect ratio. Now, even though this is an American Italian dish or a New York Italian dish, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of real Italian to it by taking our wooden spoon and keeping the lid slightly open while the sauce simmers away. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the pasta to be ready, I take the pecorino and I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces just like this. We're going to use this to grate onto the pasta, and we're going to wrap this in plastic because it's, in my opinion, not good to constantly handle the cheese. So you're going to handle it and then you'll put it away in the refrigerator, and what that does is it introduces a lot of microbes and bacteria onto the cheese, and it makes it go bad a lot faster. So use a smaller amount, grate with a smaller amount, and be very careful and clean with the larger pieces so they'll last a lot longer. All right, our water has come to a boil. Now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of regular table salt into the water, and we'll add our pappardelle. You don't need to have large amounts of water in order to properly cook pasta. It just needs to be submerged. And what happens with a smaller amount of water is it takes less time for it to come back to the boil. And you can already see from, if you look carefully enough, that the water is literally almost back to a boil, which is exactly what we want. And in addition to that, you don't need to constantly stir the pasta, and the pasta does not have to be at a rolling boil constantly. As soon as the outside layer gels, of starch gels, the pasta will not stick. So we'll come back when this is done and we're ready to plate up. All right, our sauce is ready. And what I've done is put it into a sauce pot, as you well know, because I'm going to ladle out a portion for myself to eat and try. But first, let's adjust the seasonings. It doesn't need any more salt, because remember, we're going to add Pecorino-Romano. But we will add a few grinds of pepper to give it another dimension. Seems like a lot of pepper, but it's really not. We'll give it a little bit of a stir. And let's taste again. Now that's perfect. All right, we'll put this on the back burner. Keep it simmering away a little bit until our pasta is done. All right, we're about a minute out from our pasta being ready. We're going to take a couple of ladles full of the sauce and put it in the into a frying pan, to a skillet. Turn on the heat, and we're going to let this come to a boil. And then when our pasta is done, we'll add it all in and use some of the pasta water potentially to thin it out if need be. All right, our pasta is ready. Let's move it in, and we'll add in the pasta. A couple of more pieces here. Done. We'll move that around and finish the cooking. Of course, the pasta will continue to absorb the liquid, and if we need to add more liquid, well, then we have the pasta water. Of course, there's only one way to tell, and you know what that is, right? You have to actually taste it. It needs another 30 seconds or so, but I'm not going to keep you waiting. So let's go dish it up and enjoy. Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Well, you saw me dish it up. Here it is. It's now time to taste. Pappardelle with sweet sausage and a hot tomato ragu, or hot tomato sauce. A little bit of basil in there. Wow. That's just phenomenal. The pasta perfectly cooked. The sweetness of the sausage, that little bit of extra fennel in there is so delicious. The tomatoes, I mean, there's some great tomatoes around the world. New Jersey has great tomatoes. San Marzano tomatoes, the DOP ones, are excellent. But these California tomatoes take the cake as well. They're just so delicious. You can taste the onions in there. Of course, the fat from the olive oil and the sausages as well is in there. The pecorino. I don't like a lot of pecorino. So I just put a little bit, but that little bit is just perfect. Too much, it's too much. It overpowers everything. Not enough, too few, too little, and you just don't taste anything. But it takes a while to get used to copious amounts of Pecorino-Romano because it's a sheep's milk cheese and it's extremely strong. But it is indicative of Southern Italian cooking and also indicative of the cooking of the Southern Italians that immigrated to the United States in the early part of the 1900s. But boy, is this delicious. Let me tell you. Oh, before I forget, please, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when I release another video. Share with your friends. Sharing is caring. And leave a comment down below. I'm going to finish this bowl, but I'm not going to make you live through that. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a great day. I wish you good health, happiness, and prosperity. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.